the fourth episode of Haruhi. We now are in a fun spot, having to come to terms, find out how to utilize, deal with, and work alongside those who are not normal humans. There's potential trickiness between each of the intricacies that will be each of the members that we have to deal with, having different abilities in obtaining and knowing of specific knowledge and things that occur while still not due to us being in a altered world in itself created through Haruhi. It's weird, right? But it's pretty cool. So I'm excited to see what they go with, how they do this, and more importantly, Kyun's understanding or ability to unravel these sort of things and willingly choose to almost alongside these people, or to maybe side more with himself, or go all the way to the other end and side fully with Haruhi here, will be interesting to watch the relationship now have to grow between the two, to a point that his importance likely, played a large portion in this, whether it be his creation of, what became of a relationship or what is going to after this point, or more so the wishing up of him likely from her to become someone, or to be put in a scenario where you are alongside and meet that sort of person, will really put us on a different path in comparison to anybody else that she likely would have met. So it's going to be fun. I think it will be. I don't think I'm going to sit here and cry and be destroyed by it. I think it's going to be some fun. The characters themselves are, so I would hope the rest of it is. Haruhi did not show up to the meeting or school or anything, I think, after the previous episode, or the end of the previous one. So what is she up to? What's going on in that head of hers? Have to play along and find out. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you like it all, like and subscribe. Now, feel free to stick around for the discussion on the cons with this series. Let's get going with episode 4. Oh, she's back. Your responsibility now, buddy. When the pretty girl look at you, smile, wink, and ask of something, you gotta do it.
Suzumiya, 前にも言ったかもしれないけどさ、見つけることもできない謎探しはすっぱりやめて、普通の高校生らしい遊びを書いて。
Come on, dude, that's no.
高校生らしい遊びって何よ?
Some artificial thing you've made up.
散策ならそいつとやれよ。デートにもなって一石二鳥だろうが。
うんだ、男なんてどうでもいいわ。で、
But if you want to, I'd be down to go with you.
そりゃ健康な若い女なんだし、体を持て余したりもするわ。でもね、一時の気の迷いで面倒事を背負い込むほどのバカじゃないのよ、私は。それに私が男あさりに精出すようになったら SOS 団はどうなるの?
Right, we don't got time for all that. Right, I gotta take care of it. It's like our baby. It's not the point. We don't need more people. All the perfect members.
物騒なこと言わないでよね。恋煩いでもしてるのかしら。
それはない。鈴宮が思い立ったように恋したり、鈴宮が望むようなパーッとした事件が起こったりするなんざ、そうそうあってはならないんだよ、この世で。
In her way.
パーッとした事件の方は、この時密かに始まっていたのだ。
I like how they did that. I was gonna say no people. Get the logo and a little bit of the song. That's cool. Oh, brother. I'm assuming purple hair girl. Can't remember her name, sorry. Oh. Yuki's not who I was talking about. I know Yuki. Sorry about the one in our class.
だが、これは長門の字とは明らかに違う。それに長門なら下駄箱にメッセージを入れるなんて素直な手は使わないだろう。朝比奈さんって線はないか？それもどうかと思う。あの人がちぎった小さなメモ用紙にこんな時間指定もない伝言をよこすとは思えない。春日ならますますありえん。
Yeah, that even more unlikely.
階段の踊り場まで強引に引っ張っていって話を
Right. Very
理
assertive.
由で小泉説も却下。その可能性が最も理解しやすいが、だったら
Just all the cutest pictures.
撮るような気もするのだが。ってそれはなんだ。
何言って写
But we'd get some clicks.
真の洞察写真
そんなものは見りゃわかる。それをどうする気だ。
うちのサイトのトップページに貼り付けんのよ。これで世の中不思議メールもじゃんじゃん来るわ。アクセス数も
Smart thinking. Smart thinking.
珍しく熱心に説教する俺を春日はじとっとした目で見ていたが、ネットに個人を特定できる情報を流すことの危険性を解説する俺の言葉をどうにか理解したのか。
わかったわよ。
しぶしぶデリートに同意した。この際だから画像そのものを全て消去すべきだったのかもしれないが、それがちょっと惜しい。今だ。
今日はもう帰る。
Save that one for.
小泉がやってきた。いつもの笑顔で。
バイトがありますんで、お先に失礼します。
一体何のバイトな。
Also didn't even show up. Just like bye. That's sweet.
着替えるから先に帰ってて。
I like how even with Haruhi gone, she still dresses up.
俺は部室を飛び出した。
Hello, mystery man. Or woman.
そこ
Likely
にいた人
woman.
物を目にして
Yeah.
俺はかなり意表をつかれた。
It's literally the only character we've been introduced to. Who else would it be?
鈴宮さんのことね。どう思ってる？
やれやれ、こいつも鈴宮か。
さ、例え話なんだけど、現状を維持するだけでは自利品になることは分かってるんだけど、どうすればいい方向に向かうことができるのか分からないとき、あなたならどうする？
なんだそりゃ。日本経済。
Yeah, where are you going?
何でもいいから変えてみようと思うんじゃない？どうせ今のままでは何も変わらないんだし。
まあ、そういうこともあるかもしれん。
でしょ？
It's always the mindset of it could be worse.
良好に変革を進めちゃってもいいわよね。
何を言おうとしてるんだ。ドッキリか。掃除用具入れにでも。
Isn't that what I thought I was gonna get? What I showed?
変化しない観察対象に私はもう飽き飽きしてるのね。だからあなたを殺して鈴宮春日の出方を見る。
なんだなんだ。
This really isn't going how I thought.
この状況はなんだ。なんで俺が朝倉にナイフを突きつけられねばならんのか。待て待て、朝倉は何と言った。俺を殺す。怖い。なぜ。冗談はやめろ。
Why?
危ないって。それが本物じゃなかったとしてもビビるって。
冗談だと思う？
Look at these big eyes. You think I'm
死
joking?
ぬのって嫌？殺されたくない？私には有機生命体の死の概念がよく理解できないんだけど。
Okay.
わからないし笑えない。いいからその危なっかしいのをどっかに置いてくれ。
それ無理。だって私は本当にあなたに死んでほ
Right,
しいんだもん。
could you talk, explain?
無駄なの。
Oh, the color.
この空間は私の情報制御下にある。出ることも入ることもできない。
So is any and everybody around us this?
何者なんだお前は。
We get... Wait, okay. Look at the background.
今この教室はすべて私の意のままに動くって。
待て待て待て。
Ah, so you're fucked, alright.
俺を殺して鈴宮春日の出方を見る。また春日か。人気者だな春日。てかそれでどうして俺が死ななきゃならんのだ。
最初から
So she's for the betterment of her being enraged to want to go out of her way and alter and change things, likely.
春日は何らかのアク
Yeah.
多分大きな情報爆発が観測できる。
Yeah.
またとない機会だわ。
And the others are trying to prohibit things like that from occurring.
じゃあ死んで。
Assuming our club members, or at least one of them. Yeah. Hello, you.
この人間が殺されたら間違いなく鈴宮春日は動く。これ以上の情報を得るにはそれしかないのよ。あなたは私のバックアップのはず。
Oh.
されていない。
And acting alone. Weird.
情報結合を解除する。情報結合の解除を申請する。
この時、ああこ この二人は本当に人間じゃないみたいだ。
First time you truly have been able to observe that. Cool. She was just sucking it in. The whole time. I don't even know what to make of what's happening. But we don't feel anything, right? Yeah, bad. We'll just take that out there. So how is one destroyed? Please tell me you had a plan. Can she touch you because of this? Uh-huh.
私の負け。よかったね。延命できて。でも気をつけてね。統合指令体はこの通り相反する意識をいくつも持ってるの。いつかまた私みたいな急進派が来るかもしれない。
I'm sure it will.
長戸さんの操り主が意見を変えるかもしれない。それまで鈴宮さんとお幸せに。じゃあね。
So what happens with the version of her outside of this?
いい。肉体の損傷は大したことない。正常化しないといけないのはまずこの空間。不純物を取り除いて教室を再構成する。
Let me think I'm back up real quick. Alright. Render some some CG models. Alright. We're missing something. Yeah. That's not the point. No, I know a guy. He's in a different show though. Same studio. Whoa, whoa.
父さん、この静止画を見たら逆に押し倒そうとしてるとも思えなくもない体勢なわけでして。
すまん。
Didn't know y'all had it like that.
長戸が永遠と語った電波話、トンチキな妄想語りを信じるとか信じないとかいう問題ではない。さっきの出来事は本気のヤバさとは何かを俺に実感させてくれた。
Yeah, might be time to lock it a little bit.
これじゃ長戸が宇宙人か何かの関係者であることを納得せざるを得ないではないか。
For the first time, you really realize you don't have anything.
急なことだと先生も思う。転校することになった。
すっかり元気を取り戻した鈴宮春日が目を輝かせていた。
Intentional for reasons of finding.
いるわけねえ。つうか俺が言いたくない。あれは全て俺の幻覚だったと思っていたいくらいなのに。
Be easier to explain.
今度は理由も告げずに転校していく女子までいたのよ。
Something's going on.
その懸案事項は封筒の形をして昨日に引き続き俺の下駄箱に入っていた。
Oh, brother. This one's definitely different, but still.
味違うぞ。はい、さっと出かけていってまた生命の危機に直面するのはごめん被りたい。
Maybe she'll talk about it.
誰やろう。朝比奈さん。
Right, at all costs. Even if she was trying to kill me. What form are we taking?
朝比奈さんにとてもよく似ている。でもそれは朝比奈さんではなかった。
あなたの知ってる私よりもっと未来から来ました。
Brother, what the fuck is going down? I also thought she was gonna be like 70 in real form.
証拠を見せてあげる。ほら、ここに星型のほくろがあるでしょ。
It's anime, so it's hard to tell age, but it might not be too far removed from present then.
信じるも信じないも、俺は朝比奈さんのほくろの位置なんか覚えちゃいない。
Right, I didn't even know to begin with.
で見ることができたのはバニーガールのコスプレをしていた時と不可抗力で着替えを覗いてしまった時ぐらいだが、どっちにしたってそこまで細かいところを観察などしていない。
あれ、でもここにほくろがあるって言ったのキョンくんだったじゃない。私自分でも気づいてなかったのに。やだ、今、そっか、この時はまだ。
How different the voice comes out.
白雪姫って知ってます？
そりゃ知ってますけど。
これからあなたが何か困った状態に置かれた時、その言葉を思い出してほしいんです。
7人の小人とか魔女とか。
Right, anything else I forget?
そうです。白雪姫の物語を。
困った状態なら昨日あったばかりですが。
それではないんです。もっと、そうですね、詳しくは言えないけど、
Just remember the story.
そばには鈴宮さんもいるはずです。
俺と春日がいつどこで？
鈴宮さんはそれを困った状況だとは考えないかもしれませんが、
But in fact,
あ
fun.
なただけじゃなくて私たち全員にとってそれは困ることなんです。よくこんなの着れたな、私。今なら絶対無理。
春日には他にどんな衣装を着せられたんです？
内緒。恥ずかしいもん。それにそのうちわかるでしょ。じゃあもう行きます。最後にもう一つだけ。私とはあまり仲良くしないで。
Real got too comfortable there.
今年いくつ？
Classified, brother.
引則事項です。
それはまるで見るものすべてを恋に落としそうな笑顔だった。よう、来るとき朝比奈さんによく似た人とすれ違わなかったか？
朝比奈みくるの維持感同位体、朝にあった。
ひょっとしてお前も時間移動とかできる
You
のか？
capable of
その
that?
情報なんとか隊も。
私にはできない。でも時間移動はそんなに難しい。
I wouldn't be satisfied with something as simple as that.
言語では概念を説明できないし、理解もできない。
そうかい。
そう、
That's a good way to not have to explain it.
ない。
中藤、昨日はありがとうよ。
お礼ならいい。朝倉涼子の異常動作はこっちの責任。不手際。どこ行ってたのよ。すぐ帰ってくると思ってご飯食べないで待ってたのに。
そのセリフ、幼馴染が照れ隠しで怒ってる感じで頼む。
アホなこと言ってないで。ちょっとこっち来て。さっき職員室で岡部に聞いたんだけどね、朝倉の転校って朝になるまで誰も知らなかったみたいなのよ。朝一で朝倉の父親を名乗る男から電話があって、
Blaming, of course.
なったからって。それもどこだと思う？カナダよ、カナダ。
Right. The day of course.
カナダの連絡先を教えてくれって言ったのよ。
And they couldn't provide
そ
anything.
れすらわからないっていうのよ。せっかくだから引っ越し前の朝倉の住所を聞いてきた。学校が終わったらその足で行くことにするわ。何かわかるかもしれない。
相変わらず人の話を聞かないやつだ。まあ別に止めない。
I love how he just lets her just drag him around.
なんで？
あんたそれでも SOS 団の一員なの？
I'm not proud of it. All right, my friends, it's going to be one of those discussions again where I'm confused on things and I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And I ask as though you do not spoil things for me unless they were explained already and you just want me to go back and re-listen to or pay attention to things. Because that happens often, right? That's what the whole me editing this is supposed to help clear up too. One, doing discussions to speak through it and try and help myself understand it and express the way that I feel, or provide a little bit more clarity on why I feel how I do. But the rewatch on the edit basically helps alongside that too, of being able to pick up on any information or lines I may have missed because I was yapping over, may have not considered or thought of without the whole picture and context of what has gone down up to this point. So some things might get cleared up there, some might not. I might just be yapping about some things that don't really make too much sense either, but we're going to try and have some fun. So I guess the first thing that I really have a confusion on was in the previous episode, I had uncertainty of the way that Mikuru's time travel was working. And I asked a few questions. I think I cut some stuff from the discussion too, because I thought I had it cleared up by the end of like my rewatch and everything, and they were just dumb questions and stuff. But now I'm questioning if they were even dumb to begin with. The thing basically confusing me, I guess, throughout it in the previous episode was Mikuru's ability and the time travel and the stuff, kind of the dynamic of how all that works, like the specifics with it. The world itself being created by this goddish power from Haruhi 3 years ago, being the prime date that we're looking back, and being something that we can't go back and reflect on or move past any further than that, being like the strong indicator of it, to me, eliminated fully the idea that we are having people from the present line in the future go back into the current one that we're seeing and alter the things that happen so that current one is different. In my head, the way it explained it made a lot of sense to be those in the present line tried to go back, which diverged them to a alteration of a different line of a world that was created and could no longer be moved past these 3 years, of date where she was. And that's where they find themselves now, and they're viewing it from like the outside. Like if they were on planets in a way, they're viewing their like a different planet from the planet that they're on, and they're trying to go into that one to alter it and get it back either to that main line or allow that secondary one to progress itself to be plenty fine and not be something that like gets blown up. And it all applies for research purpose and things within their own. But the way it's described throughout this episode and the continuation almost of where Mikuru is kind of coming from in the future, being like, yeah, I'm coming directly from that, makes it to me, and like the questioning is of Kyon to kind of ask things about like, oh, what else did she make you wear? And like asking things about the club itself and the things that play out, and her being like, oh, you'll see all that stuff as time passes, doesn't play off as, oh, it was like this in the previous one and then things happen. Plays off as she's from this present one and knows exactly what's going down in the future of this, which is very different than the way that I take it. It doesn't realistically change anything, I think, for the way things are playing out or will maybe play out, and maybe it does, and I'm not thinking Claire right now. But it still is something that I'm feeling uncertain on and not fully understanding. And maybe if it is something that should be more clear and I'm not getting, let me know. But if it is something that does get more clarity a little later, just keep your mouth a little quiet right now. Is all I ask. But that itself, I think, is a little weird and making me a bit uncertain on this, because my understanding was also if there was a change in lines in which we're kind of dealing with and a new creation of what's going on here, the dynamics between all the characters and the things that are happening or will happen, especially into the future, shouldn't be similar at all. And honestly, these characters likely may have not met, or at least just been in the same sort of environment, had any of this stuff not been wished upon likely through Haruhi. So it would make enough sense that she has knowledge of this if she was from the present one. But I guess it just seems weird to me, because if you are from the current present date one, is the only thing that we're really holding out and wanting to come back due to the fact that they realized this sort of shift in creation that restarted things essentially at this one point a few years prior. But does that not put a alteration on any and everything that's going to occur going forward? So what line at the end of the day do you come from? And maybe that's a little harder to explain. This is why, time travel stuff and things can get a little weird at times, because there's so many different loops and versions that are a little harder to tell what's real and what isn't. And then this is also taking every single thing, taking the word as truth and fact from Mikuru and anybody else that we run into, but really left with no other reason to not, as it is a fictional story. And at the same time, firsthand seeing what Yuki was capable of this episode also I don't know. So I'm left feeling a little weird on that still. Not too certain where we're going. The other massive thing, of course, naturally, is apparently we're able to get these corrupted versions that have errors and flaws and stuff. Be like these deviated versions, I guess, of whatever being, I guess, like Yuki and the others probably are, that form within this world. As one to note that there are others, likely probably everyone around us at the school, that we will run into and encounter, and to be suspicious of every single person that they may have an interaction with outside of the main cast going forward, that because they might be relevant in some sort of way here, but also the fact that we just have them lurking around. And we can run into them, and that they have their own abilities and things. And the way it's described, especially through Yuki, is that she was somebody underneath her, so she should not have been able to be capable of wanting to do this or having her own sort of voice or feeling and reasoning for doing the things that she ended up trying to and putting a stop to it. I made the assumption at the time, which I still think would have made a ton of sense, if you have these other groups and versions, and it's not one specific thing that is almost sending people back with knowledge and information on what is coming about for the future and the things to look out for and potentially prevent from occurring or actually lead to occur, who are just different, of course, than the group of people that we know who might have other motives. A big question being asked in the previous episode of what is your goal? Like, what are you after? And none of our characters wanting to actually state what their feelings were and what they were striving after here, which would make a lot of sense if it had to do with some negatives or anything that could potentially persuade Kyon into doing things that aren't exactly what Haruhi wants or what he wants or what he views to be right. And you don't want to present any influence and things based on like potential future knowledge of what could go down for what you're doing. Because if you say that you want to destroy her, you're assuming that she is somebody who is capable of something so great and potentially goes down that horrible route and things within the future that we are trying to full on and likely avoid. It would lead him to maybe souring a little bit on her as a person, which could prevent things from naturally flowing and going about in the way that they should throughout this line. So it makes enough sense that they never wanted to come out and state that. But even if that wasn't the case, and this episode makes it maybe a little bit different, because that still could be the case regardless of what happens here with us trying to eliminate Kyon from it. But it makes a lot of sense that if we have these other versions or groups that potentially came in at the same time and put and plotted somebody in this spot that has the ability to shut things down now and alter the way that things are, or maybe like push Haruhi in a direction that causes this massive explosion or something for more observation and gathered data and stuff that they are looking for, could really work itself out to be a fun little thing too. Ended up not being the case, us just being ended up being a version of a person who just shouldn't really act out and be the way that they are, not according to the plan and instruction that they were likely given and coded for. But it is fun to note that there could have been versions of people that acted out and did that. And it does make me question, if we did eliminate Kyon right away, like, is that the main goal? Is it just to keep an eye on him until it's too late and they don't want to necessarily do anything with Haruhi, but he's the one that they're sort of observing and after, and the reasoning to simply target somebody like him instead of her right away, still providing the reasons of interest of what she would actually do, but potentially giving some more reason to the initial theory in the previous episode of him being the version of the person that almost may have been the one who wanted to create this in the environment and the stuff that we likely see now. And instead of being Haruhi, who they are just projecting all their power and stuff onto, he's trying to take that, right, the version of a person who doesn't want this godlike ability but wants it at the same time, so giving it off to somebody else and being a side character that goes alongside with them and like their partner in crime almost, while not having that ability and still keeping that human side of themselves, is a fun little thing that I could definitely see somebody cooking up and wishing for, right? But it was just such a strange interaction to come about. Not something at all that I was assuming that we were getting into. You knew you were going to get into something weird and bad with the general direction and coloring that we were doing. throughout the scene of leading it up with some of the slower paced and music in the background, and also having like the reddish orange hue come in from the outdoors to really affect the room and come in to be really red for the most part, typical color to represent danger and death and harm and plenty of things that can come about. It was fitting that, of course, we went down it, but not at all really what I was expecting. It's nice to see these powers firsthand be almost used though from Yuki, and know that others are likely not lying, especially if she's like, yeah, they're like me in a way, is very cool. And it's nice to know that we can just hop in and provide context and give a path potentially to walk down for Kyon from other members that aren't physical beings in person that we see, and presenting something where potentially everybody runs into each other could be interesting. It also makes me question and wonder what the Endless Eight itself, as that's like an arc that's very, known and for better or worse, I guess, by people of in name at least, and that's where I know it is in name. But the general assumption with that and an 8 being representative of like infinity and a bunch of things makes me very curious if we go down like a potential death loop or something, or we can follow in a direction like this, where Kyon like is finding himself to be like in danger by a bunch of things that are coming about and dying in the process of it. That leads him to potentially always having to go back and relive the days through it till he clears through everything to get to like another checkpoint or path almost past it. Could be a potential little thing, I guess, that they want to do. There's definitely other reasons and things that we could, but this episode with a near-death experience being faced directly in front of us, that was the first place that my mind almost kind of went, was if we toyed with the fact that we could kill him, how would he overcome that if he is a being or something that is wished about, that potentially the world itself isn't allowing the fact that he could really die, and he always has to return to that point. I like what they did with the OP, not having it throughout all of this and then giving us like the title screen and a little bit of music at one point in it, but that's really it. Haruhi makes her return. Look, of course, who has to be here. It's fun getting the first real interaction and communication between characters in the episode being representative of like what the main portion and conflict of it likely would be for the later half, even with like a large reveal to come about of being unexpected. Did all this stuff because I want things to be fun. Wonder if she's lovesick. I don't know if that's necessarily where we're going with it, but she might be, maybe, but that could be just the general form of excitement and things that she's missing, you know? Somebody left a note. Ooh, who could it be? The classic, right? Somebody sent something and you spend the whole day wondering what the fuck it was. This is a smart strategy. Look, it's revealing a little bit, but putting the face of somebody really pretty and has the features and things that somebody's going to be going out their way to potentially look forward. Why? At the top is like a clickbait sort of thing. You can't blame her as a way to bring in some traffic. Why do you think anime does what it does with fan service? And why do you think it has like the most adorable characters? And why do you think like even, real shows and movies and things and stuff cast people who are extremely marketable and just beautiful and whatever else? It's because they're these figures and these things that are supposed to draw you in and want you to see it specifically for that sort of being, right? It makes sense that we're going to advertise somebody or something as I like the creation of the other folder and everything and sneaking it out there. Everybody leaves. Things are getting more and more red until, oh, by the way, starts laying on like the craziest over the top scenarios and viewpoints. And maybe that's something that I should go into. And it's like creation and things that are either were or would be if he were not in the picture, or maybe prior to him being there at some point, and she's just laying it out directly in front of him. I don't know how much to read into it and not to read into the fact that she's just spewing a bunch of nonsense and things right now. Just want to see her reaction, like almost like things will become that, and I know that they will, so I would like to remove you now to see how everything plays out when they do. Put that down, please. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean I have to. Changing it to this, immediately going from like this to this with the coloring is so good. And of course, somebody has to come save us because that's the only way that we can get out of it. Being able to use your abilities to create these sort of spaces to entrap others is such a scary sort of thing that plenty of people are. The biggest flaw with them is the fact that others are literally always able to get in, and they're never actually what they say that they they are. That shit's just annoying. Or others within the inside or the outside are able to come through and break it. That shit just gets me upset when it happens. It happens in other shows who have like places of or like people who have abilities and things that they are able to create these sort of dimensions and stuff. And it's like, that's a cool concept and all, but at the end of the day, when you are able to invade it so easily, it's a little lackluster to me. So I guess we'll see if everybody else goes out of their way to almost try and create this, or anybody else that we run into at some point. But it's really fun for a first interaction, and it does exactly as kind of needed. As predictable of somebody showing up to put a stop to it would make plenty of sense. Yuki not exactly being, I guess, who I would have expected. I think she might have been like the last one that I don't know. I guess that makes sense. But I guess she would be not the first option. Koizumi would probably be the first one, I would assume, based on the general conversation about abilities and like when the time's right, I'll show you and stuff that he expressed to us in the previous one. So I guess that's probably almost what I was fully expecting, and his not being really in the club room with them and just popping in and out would make sense. But I guess it's kind of fitting Yuki. She's just quiet, and unless she's really needed for action or whatever. You're not permitted for all of this. You must do as I say. File a release on it. I like when we go here and the background gets all like pixelated and stuff. I think it looks so cool. Willingness to still protect him as if he's a crucial piece in what it is that we're trying to do, whether it's keep alive or save till a certain point. At least doing that, though. And her just getting speared and everything through her is fucking insane. Can't do anything. All right, now we'll see you. And do whatever we can to send her off. And we literally make a transfer the next day. So crazy. Seeing them in a position like this. Never ideal, but you know. Now you got to start believing in things a little bit. And look who instantly gets her feelings sparked up. And I wonder if that's what it is, right? I wonder if it's not actually like it's all being fabricated, almost like a play at this point. The creation or doing of something where Haruhi was in a slump of somebody who didn't want to move and was losing hope and all these sort of things. And before she resorts to making up and wishing upon something that is largely kind of unreal and needing to happen, they cause somebody to go a little rogue or do something that then puts her in a scenario to respark and inspire some hope into her, and maybe even her being responsible directly for it, being the person who wishes that something like this kind of came about and actually thought it up. Like maybe that's what happened too. Like, I wonder if somebody just randomly up and left in the middle and nobody could find them or whatever, and then it creates a scenario that caused somebody who we thought assumingly was on our side actually to kind of not be that and be corrupted in a way that then turns them directly against us, which then forces them out to keep that inspiration and excitement almost sparked within her. So I do wonder if it's like a calculated thing, maybe even on her side, like subconsciously for what it is, like, and still just doesn't even know that she's the one actually causing this, or if it was like directly planned. Like, these are things that I'm going to consistently have to not just take things at face value and just be a little cautious of for reasons of future things to not be provided through the characters that we're actually aware of, who claim to have knowledge of these sort of things already, right? To not actually say the things that you know leave you in that sort of spot of, I have to question it a bit until we get Miss Older Asahino, which is fun to be able to get. It's nice to note that it's not exactly from where I expected. I guess we could still have multiple versions of her and another one from real old could come about, but it is nice to see that it's not something that seems to be too far out of reach. So it's not like we're planning on something that goes down 40 years down the line, but instead likely within like 10 at least. And it's a little harder to get a general gauge on, of course, because anime and stuff, so ages and things are harder, and her not wanting to openly let that out, which of course, why would you? You're gonna entrap all this other info. You're definitely not gonna say that either. You know about Snow White, and basically just tells us to recall it, just to know about it, and when opportunity comes about, just to keep it completely in mind, which I guess we'll see how exactly that applies to and what that knows. I'll be honest, I don't like this. I say it all the time. I don't like when we take real life stories and we implement them into other shows. They do it a lot with plays, and then they do it like just a lot in general like this. I don't personally like that because it fully implies that for you to get the better picture and possible full enjoyment factor out of it, you have to have full knowledge of that story and the things within it coming into this. And now they can explain them in a way, but typically when they display it and they talk within the world of what the story's on to, it's done in a way that's rather boring and uninteresting. I much prefer when we make up stories in world and then we apply them, because then they always like thematically have something to represent, of course, within our own characters. Even then, I don't typically like, though, I just don't like personally applying other stories into the story that you're trying to tell. I think a lot of times they just it turns me off a little bit. It's not really something I've ever truly enjoyed. And because it relies on the fact that like I don't fucking know Snow White. I'll be honest, I don't. We just had a show recently we watched that applied to it a little bit, but it didn't really have any like strong thematic connections between them. So it didn't bother me too much. But it's more of just like I don't know all the specifics. I know I've seen Snow White design. I've never watched Snow White. I don't know. I have no clue. I know there's some dwarves and the apple and everything. I know the most of like what he said. That's it. So it's like anything else that we go off of and we utilize within it, I won't be able to get the full on experience if we're strongly connecting in a way to the story. If it's a little different, it's more of like they're trying to pick something to do as like a class project or something. She's just saying that because she wants us to like present an idea that directs us into like what we're doing. That's fine. That's simple, right? But if it has to do with a bunch more, I'm not too sure I'm going to get the full enjoyment experience directly out of it. And maybe there's something else that I could pick apart and know of had I had that full or more on knowledge of it that I just don't. So it'll happen though. It is what it is. Sorry, a little ranty, but it's not something I personally ever really like. Don't get too friendly with me. Is that a warning towards something? She runs away. Yuki's fully aware that she was here. You know, we talked a little earlier. Look who's so excited that things are finally going in a positive direction. Just dragging him around. We have things to worry about. Fun, very weird and chaotic, but fun. I'm interested to see what else they have. Hopefully you liked. If you liked it, like and subscribe. Not to me, feel free to check out the video channel. If you consider this series, I'll be back for episode 5 very soon. It was a great one though. Peace.